Force sweeps. So it'll be interesting to see how this series truly does go. Let's get started with Game 1. It will take place on Battlefield of Eternity. The new favorite for Superstars. They have been emboldened to go to Battlefield of Eternity. Just this part where they never have before. They're also going to ban Brax's holdout, even though that is a battleground. Traditionally, they have even been willing to pick, not wanting to deal with Gale Force there. Gale Force will go ahead and ban Warhead Junction.
Very interesting selection, but showing the Superstars here coming out, swinging with that Braxis ban. Really can appreciate the competitive mindset. They're setting the tone here just through the map, picking bans. Let's see if they can do the same, keep that momentum, tone, and keep it in the driver's seat, you know, throughout the draft of the heroes as well. I think that's going to be absolutely crucial if we can assume Superstars to be successful in this series.
So as we start the draft for Game 1, some things to keep in mind. First of all, Gale Force has only shown one Medivh in all of Phase 2. So do they have to ban it versus Superstars? They didn't versus Roll20, actually. Wasn't as much of a concern for them. Granted, Roll20 had a lot of different strategies, as we saw in that series, getting a 3-0 that looked pretty easy versus Gale Force. But Superstars, they love their Medivh, whereas Gale Force, they've been playing a lot more double support. They've even played double support with Vala on this battleground in their last series. So it's hard to say. Both of them have different styles of drafts. Superstars have liked even Abathur on this battleground too, so different styles of Battlefield of Eternity.
And also, though we didn't actually get to see that clip played through the interview itself, when I was interviewing Jose, he specifically targeted those strategies. The fan hypercarry is kind of the direction he was talking about with that double support. And Superstars put a bit of concern toward it. He didn't seem like it's a must take away, but he was like, you know, we're keeping our eyes on that. If anything, is when Gale Force looks best is when fan is popping off on a Vala with the double support. So we might be concerned about ridding of that, but the Medivh problem that we were talking about, Superstars still thinks that it is worth the ban themselves, though Gale Force, again, only one display of Medivh throughout all of Phase 2, or is that all of HGC? Because I think that's almost all of HGC. They have never really touched Medivh.
I see one from, oh, but that was K1 Pro, and he was on B-Step, yeah, so probably just not very much of any Medivh for GaleForce Esports. GaleForce won't get it here, even if they would have wanted it, as it is banned from Superstars, but Tassadar does stay available. Superstars take away the Vala. Superstars have been playing a lot of Vala and Greymane themselves, with having Yoda switching over to range.
And then moving with a very high Li Ming pick.
Ooh.
This rotation of Li Ming used to be rather meta. To expect before the secondary ban phase of Li Ming to be picked was almost near 100% of drafts. So I'm not overly surprised to see that Li Ming, but let's be real here. Since the beefcake meta has come in, health bars, armor, self-sustain across the board has been there left and right. It's been hard for those little resets to kind of pop off unless you're Genji. And so it's just, I feel like a bold move here that Superstars was willing to be able to take that here against Gale Force, and I'm looking for the argument as to why. What synergies are we going to see them pair that with?
Superstars love making sure that they're running the show when it comes to the poke on Battlefield of Eternity. Both of these heroes will allow them to do that. It does sort of limit what GaleForce Esports can do in the ranged poke department, but there's still heroes, maybe like a Malthael, who could be able to poke from a range with his Death Shroud. Next two picks, we have to keep in mind the Malthael as a possibility. Also, both Stray and Mike Udall share a lot of the same heroes that they prefer. Arthas is a big hero, really just for these two teams, maybe Tempo Storm too. So where does the Arthas fit in? Where does the Dahaka fit in? Looks like Malthael is just going to be the ban for Superstars. But we've got a Task Tracer.
Yeah, Task Tracer on Battlefield of Eternity. That is already something that Superstars should have assumed, right? Task Tracer is a threat on bigger maps where skirmishing is focused, like that of Sky Temple, Warhead Junction, but it is primed and prepped for a map like BOE. You can always get your pulse bomb off of those immortals, and why it is a go-to strategy. This is the map that strategy's got to be feared, and so I'm expecting some kind of master game plan for Superstars. First thing that kind of jumps out is maybe a Brightwing in this game. It works both with the Task Tracer and the ETC if we see the Mosh Pit threat, but I mean, hard crowd control, that's point and click, is without a doubt the desire here of Superstars after the secondary ban.
And because of that, Gale Force will go ahead and take care of Varian. Varian with Taunt is another one of the scary heroes for Tracer to deal with. Going in with Blinks and then being taunted away. There's plenty of assassination potential for Superstars between Vala and Li Ming to follow up on that taunt. There is another hero with some taunt ability.
Good old Garrosh.
Yeah.
Whether or not he wants to move in. He's a little, you know, less successful than the variant just because no gap closer, right? That is the trade-off. But also, Tracer kind of has struggles getting a kill onto Garrosh. It's a bit of a trade-off, right? Because Tracer's auto attacks being so frequent increase the armor, which dilutes the damage dealing, increasing his effective health. But then you have the quantum spike capabilities, ignoring the armor. So it's like she has to have a pulse bomb. So she kind of counters him, but only when the pulse bomb's available. Which, it's BOE, so it's going to be a lot. So I would say it's a bigger trade-off towards the Tracer than the Garrosh. But, you know, these are really kind of the highlights and things that these teams are considering when looking at this pick, or at this rotation and at this draft. But we find a Kharazim Sonya for the members of Superstars. Very different drafting from Superstars so far. This is a huge, huge transition from them. And to be honest, it doesn't necessarily stand out as overly synergistic either. It doesn't play to individual players' strengths. I am really just kind of going, what's overcome Superstars with this draft, and what am I missing here?
The Sonya stands out a lot for me. Obviously, the Kharazim somewhat too, but it's Iacona. He's been playing for a long time, but the person who hasn't been in their new role for a while, or for that long, is Srey. Now showing us the first Sonya from him. Probably, unless we're seeing some more changes. Maybe Yoda is going to be the one to play Sonya, but I think it'll probably be Srey here. So we're just waiting on Airho's hero, the final warrior there. But for GaleForce Esports, still need Akaface's support. A lot of different options here, a lot of possibilities made even more possible because of the Tassadar, but there's still things like Rhaegar up if they want some additional damage from Lightning Bond. They'll go ahead and get that. And Falstad.
Falstad is going to work very well with that kind of Sonya not having too good of initiators to be able to aid. He does decent with the poke overall. But the Rhaegar pickup I want to highlight as very standout for GaleForce Esports by having Uther still available and not committing to it. Just because that is the only thing that the Sonya can be overly effective with on this map and in this type of draft is if she found herself with that Ancestral Healing to increase that, and more importantly, enabling her spin with the Lightning Shield. So taking that away rather than the Uther, and then also avoiding that kind of awkward trade-off between the Tassadar and Uther on the same side. It was just not a huge move, but it was just a cleverly thought out in a very, I think it's going to have a pretty big impact on this game by now knowing they took it away. Because you just usually see the ETC and you go, oh, pair that with an Uther, we'll have a Divine Shield Mosh. But they thought it through, and it makes sense.
Well, we've got the final pick for Superstars, and that is Johanna, a Superstars fairly standard warrior, although with Airho taking over the primary warrior position, they've been very flexible in what warriors they want. We saw some Tyrael last week, so it is whatever they feel is going to best bolster their composition. And Johanna here, she's got a lot of blinds to be able to help out with the damage of Tracer, with the damage of Falstad too. We may even see K1 Pro go back into more of a Gathering Storm because of that. We'll have to see. But Johanna also is a very strong frontliner and then can try to delay your opponents on the point.
What I see from that Johanna pick, also with the Hai Li Ming that I was kind of noting, and then the Sonya, right? Those are all the elements where we're kind of like, where is this? It screams to me that they are just okay with the idea of, okay, GaleForce, they want to sit around, they want the Tracer to prep, she's going to be looking for kills. What if we try and avoid them? And we concentrate on the race. Kharazim, Li Ming, Vala, great at that area. And then Johanna is she'll be the sole sacrifice. She's going to be the one going in. She's probably going to die during the first Immortal phase just to make sure that if GaleForce wants to all in, the blind condemn is enough to pull away because they have 3 amazing racers on the other side. It's just, is that trade-off going to be worth it, right? And that's a lot of momentum being relied on the first couple of minutes. So Superstars, they cannot waver. They have to be successful here if that's the direction they're going.
Well, GaleForce has chosen a team fight, whereas Superstars is focusing on the objective. Let's see who reigns supreme on Battlefield of Eternity for Game 1.
And here they are in the blue. It's going to be Superstars, where we have Srey on the Sonya, Hosie's on the Vala, Yoda, as always, world-class Li Ming player there, Iacona's on the Kharazim, and we have Urho on Johanna.
And GaleForce Esports in the red. Michael Udall will be playing at Tassadar. Fan will be on that Tracer. Watch for him to make the plays. King Caffeine playing ETC. K1 Pro playing Falstad. And finally, Akaface will be playing Rhaegar.
So already at level 1, we do see the Shot of Fury there picked up for Srey. And now this is a weird talent to talk about because Sonya does have specific spots in the meta for different parts of the world, not so much here in North America, and even the builds aren't universal nor standard across the board. But when I do see a high Shot of Fury here at level 1, I immediately am going, this is Leap to me, because you're now not so reliant on when you're going to have the Fury to initiate properly. You're not relying on maybe your Spear to hit up. You just know you can drop the Leap, hit the D, Shot of Fury comes in, and you're ready to, make stuff happen.
Well, you're alternative there is to have block. A lot of times you'll see block. Obviously, block is not necessarily the best thing you want to take versus a Tracer, although we do see reinforce for Johanna. And then also maybe getting war paint as your self-sustain, self-survivability. So we'll have to see. I would love to see a leap is all I'm saying.
I love to see me a good leap too there. Really good orb placement coming out from Yoda. And I said world-class Yoda Li Ming player when we were introducing them. And that's because we don't get oftentimes to see Yoda back onto the Li Ming, but during his time on Roll20, when they were competing, I believe at the mid-season brawl, this guy, I mean, some next level plays. I am still amazed by the performance he has had here, and I'm expecting those plays here against Gale Force.
Yeah, probably we'll see a charge blast from it for trying to get some more single target damage for the immortal phase. We do have Gathering Storm from Falstad, making sure that they can cover both fronts and have damage even when the blinds of Johanna are going out there. Otherwise, everything pretty standard for what we see in the talent perspective. We're going to have the first Immortal spawning in a few seconds. The Superstars were able to clear out the wave in the bottom. They're going to move on out and get a good position for this first phase. It's all about that race for Superstars.
It very much is, and it's going to be interesting to see how they end up performing here. They're going very offensive at first, but Gale Force all transitioning upward to get the defense. Urho's in a bit of a bad spot. Power slide out from Calf, but that's all she wrote there. And that's a lot of damage for free, about 3,000 damage. Superstars, I mean, it's not a huge victory, but a pretty big one at that, finding themselves almost halfway to the halftime show.
Yeah, and Gale Force were moving up, hoping that they could get a pick somewhere. Fan already has a full spawn ready, but no spot yet was found. Iacona going in, catching up to the ranged and making sure to drop a heal as Erho dropped his Iron Skin to retreat. Now Erho leading the charge again, staying up in front, making sure that nobody can get on the backline while the backline continues to poke, and nobody is able to stand in a position where they can block a lot of these skill shots, the magic missiles, the hungering arrows. So Superstars get a free halfway point with very little damage done to their own Immortal.
And that suddenly makes this composition that I thought was a bit risky very, very likely to succeed here. Even so much so that Superstars is comfortable sending their Johanna up towards that top lane and get that side soak here. It is looking rather grim over this first Immortal phase, but Caffeine with a big flank here. It's not going to net too much for the members. Oh, I say that a bit too soon. Yoda, Chain CC, the pulse bomb dropped, and that's first blood for GFE.
They get that first blood, but can they stop Superstars from getting the Immortal? The big deal is, if not, trying to get even more kills, getting into a place where they could snowball. King Caffeine gets very low. Sray starting to back out. Hosty and Sray pretty low. Even Iacona is too. So the members of Superstars will be stopped momentarily from getting the Immortal. This is a place where Gale Force can send someone back and keep working on the shielding of the blue Immortal. Yeah,
very well done from GaleForce Esports here. Superstars understand that Gale Force goes back to get as much damage as they can, and when it's all said and done, we sit just below 50% shielding here for Superstars Immortal. It's going up on top. We'll see what they want to do with this laning situation. If they, decide to split push, they're both starting their Shaman camp appropriately. This is going to be a benefit far more for Superstars than that of Gale Force, as the Immortal's up in that top lane. It's going to be a free clear, but it does buy a bit of time, so understandable as to why Gale Force desired it.
And also understandable why Superstars is making the laning choice that they're making. It's not a very highly shielded Immortal, and with those Shaman even alongside to help defend, it's much better for Superstars just to go in the bottom lane and push along with their Shaman camp. We're going to get a Hungering Arrow on K1 Pro, who takes quite a lot of damage.
So little fear of King Caffeine is Superstars. That was a 3-man power slide. They all knew it, and they're just like, you have 0 members of your team here, or at least not enough to be fearful. And they just went right on, kept the right click going, getting all the damage out. And Superstars, they did take out the front wall down below and a bit of damage up that on top, but to not be ahead in experience has got to be a bit of a sad remark to be able to say for yourselves here. Because Superstars, if they had pushed up on top, I feel as that they may have been able to gain a bit more. Again, that split pushing Shaman camp was such a cool tool that they might have been able to abuse.
Yeah, it's frustrating to be able to take out structures and then know that you have not really any sort of experience advantage. The idea being that for the next Immortal phase, if you don't have some sort of talent advantage for all of it, at least so that you can get a lot of damage done while your opponents are soaking. Because for their composition, the more free damage that they can get done because their opponents can't get in and team fight, which is what the Gale Force wants to be doing with this Tracer composition, the better chance that Superstars can continually get Immortal after Immortal after Immortal until eventually they just win the game.
So the trade here and the push up on top, Superstars is definitely coming out on top of this one. But it will be whether or not they can get the fight up on bottom to get this transition down to be able to stop in, Urho. Going out a bit too far in those defenses. I mean, you got to respect the pressure Gale Force applied. They were willing to tank that fort. but that is not what you want to see if you're a Superstars fan here. Keeping and losing all this minion experience is really going to be part of the reason I expect Superstars to fall behind here over this next Immortal phase.
Yeah, Superstars needs to deal with the camp. Falstad's already doing that in the top lane, and as Gale Force retreats, we should be able to get in to the Immortals, but they're keeping track of where Superstars are rotating, seeing if they can use the Pulse Bomb that Fan has and potentially get a pick to start off this Immortal phase.
Offensive positioning and a lot of damage into King Caffeine. Not enough to zone him out and make him, you know, maybe respect Superstars. But that damage output for Superstars onto the Immortal, it's all about that race. And it's such an inconvenient situation considering that we, you know, kind of theorized that maybe Urho would be the man sacrificing him out, splitting to stop the damage output. But because these Immortals are spawning in the fashion that they are, he's just not really been able to do so quite yet. And it's not worth the trade to send Falstad out on his own. Talking about Falstad, though, K1 Pro got a lot of damage into Stray, forcing him to go back and tap.
He also got a lot of damage done to the Immortal. Now King Caffeine goes all the way in. Ball has been blown up. Urho in trouble. K1 Pro and King Caffeine make sure to take him down for the double kill for GaleForce.
GaleForce Esports here, man. Just when they hit the go button, it is pretty quick to find kills immediately after. Now Fan and K1 Pro are going back. Yoda's doing his best to throw out those spells. Zycona providing vision, but King Caffeine, he's not going to let anything by. No orb, no magic missile. Halftime show here goes to GaleForce.
We see the swap, and where are the next positionings of the Immortals? Top and bottom. A lot of the members of Superstars positioned so that they can start trying to get some poke and get back to this Immortal phase. But this is not at all how Superstars had planned Immortal phases to go with their composition that they have. And I feel like that does fall back on GaleForce Esports doing a great job of making sure that they kept up an experience with Superstars so that they couldn't get any sort of free trading damage. Now GaleForce feels very confident to continue defending until they find the right opening. Make sure that if Urho burns an Iron Skin early on, if Yoda steps out a little too far, or maybe even Hosty, that's when Fan can strike, taking out one of these key damage dealers, and then the rest of GaleForce moves in. And because the poking war has lasted so long and GaleForce were able to get those couple of picks, now they've got the 10 advantage and Superstars have to leave.
And it also should be noted that Superstars with that Sonya pick, we are yet to see the justification as to why that pick came into play online. Really, they're waiting for the heroics, they're waiting for the leap. It is all about dealing that Poison Spear threat onto Fan. When he recalls, you have the leap. You just make Tracer far less. You don't make her less mobile, but you make every mobility spell need to be important and very, very high impact. And so, once these heroics come online, I expect a far more aggressive version of Superstars here, but you know they have got to be concerned about this shielded Immortal because that's above the 50% threshold. They're still down now an entire level, and they're losing when it comes to soak up on bottom.
Oh man, that Force Wall, Pulse Bomb 2, King Caffeine even went in. Everything designed to take down Stray as he goes in for some defense on the Immortal, and that's the issue with these melee heroes when you want to defend while the Immortal is still shielded. It's in a ranged position, and heroes like ETC can capitalize on that, especially with the full Force Wall. Now Stray went back, he did not die, but the fort is definitely forfeit here. It's just if Superstars want to get aggressive off the back of this Immortal, or if they will just try to back off and then regroup in the next Immortal phase.
They look like they're going to get aggressive. Stray is trying to flank there on the Sonya. He found Fan. Not going to leap yet.
There it is.
He jumps in, finds himself a Rhaegar. The damage is there, but not enough for a reset. Mosh pit's used. Whoa. It's interrupted. The flight is there. Gus and Aka Face survives.
Some sort of waltz happening with that mosh pit. 1, 2, 3 step, but strange interaction with a Force Wall. I don't know if I've ever seen that one before. But everyone in Superstars survives the onslaught. So too does Fan and Akaface with the leap. But we see it now. We see the leap. Karazim able to go along with it. Johanna to lock somebody down with the Blessed Shield. But using all of that, oh man.
They're going. They want this. They're going to see it. Urho provides a vision. Stray spears over top. That's 50% chunked after Falstad hits a max Q. Fan dashes away. Calf was going to move up. They are going to try and take this. GaleForce does not want to forfeit this camp. Pulse Bomb misses.
Misses. It was on the camp, but finally now Superstars will secure it. Do they stick around? Hosty and Yoda pretty low in health and in mana. They'll leave happy just to get the camp steal. They would have loved to get some kills there, but I'm pretty surprised Superstars didn't have Leap. They didn't have Blessed Shield, but they also knew that Gale Force was missing some crucial heroic abilities too.
I think that's the best part of the shot calling that we see here from Superstars. That was purely understanding that, more importantly, this is one of the few windows that they understand that they can take those fights. And this is a map where objectives are few and far to come across. So to invade the only one that they get on one of the few fights that they can project, and more importantly, around a very cooldown dependent composition, that was, though nothing to be gained, some of the better shot calling, honestly, across the board in North America. Very impressive. But the leap from Saray goes in. Not going to gain too much yet. Blessed Shield.
Does make a dimensional shift happen. There's a force wall, but it's too late. Rhaegar goes down, and Superstars claim a kill just at the start of the Immortal phase. Iacona goes over the wall. Michael Udall is trapped with all the members of Superstars. The skill shots over the wall, but eventually they find the kill on Mike.
And that is timed as we are 2 seconds away from the next Immortal phase. Yeah, GaleForce Esports is about to round that 13 talent tier, but being down 2 members for a long while here has got to be a concern and something that is a must-win here for Superstars. They need this halftime to go down before Tassadar is back in one with this world.
Dread, as you mentioned, Superstars, this is the first time that we have complimented them and their ability to assess when they should be team fighting with important heroic cooldowns down. They did the exact same thing last week, and we were very impressed with that, as we were impressed with the way that Saray has been nearly decimated, but a perfect palm from Iacona.
Brilliant play, and Saray is still under a lot of pressure. He is just trying to kite on out. He'll do so 5 seconds away from getting that lead back online. The whole time, I'm sure he was like, man, we wish we had that for escape, but now Gale Force, they are moving up. They want this Immortal. Halftime show was not kicked off, so that is going to buy free time for a tap by Superstars. Again, really convenient shot calling here from Superstars. This is just pretty across the board. A team, yes, they are struggling in this game, but they're doing, I mean, you could not be playing this better.
Yeah, they're doing everything they need to do to get back in this game, to make sure that they're keeping up with Gale Force as best they can on this 2-lane battleground with such a difficult objective, one that does so much damage right from the very first iteration of it. Superstars moving back in. They don't have anyone soaking, but they do have a camp in the bottom lane. There's a camp against them in the top, but they really want this Immortal. They do not want to allow GaleForce Esports to get another Immortal.
Yeah, they're going to have to act quickly. All heroics are online for both teams, but again, there's no 13 for Superstars. GaleForce Esports is willing to back out, now realizing that the 13 talent tier is close enough for Superstars. It's still quite a bit away. Trickle down wouldn't have taken this long. And now GaleForce, I feel like, is taking a bit more risk in defensiveness than they necessarily need to. And that's going to allow Superstars to pick themselves up a 13 talent tier. This is a must-win fight now for the members of Superstars, that they have been given this opportunity. They can't fail.
Posturing from Saray and Airho, very good to keep vision up on where GaleForce is trying to get into the backline from. Especially Fan, they have to keep an eye on Fan.
Only 1,000 damage remains on that Immortal. GaleForce can just send anybody up there. They have so much vision. They have pressure onto the map. Tassadar throws down 1W, trickling down to 854 HP. K1 Pro's isolated. Iacona goes in, drops a couple punches, but that's all she wrote there.
Did put Yoda in a scary spot for a second, but Saray and Airho recognize that. Yoda's keeping right up with the front line, waiting to see who can Calamity teleport in with a combo and blow up for the first reset.
Mikey Dahl, the leap goes in on a 3!
It was just after the recall too, but Fan was back enough in the back of that he gets back. Ancestral Healing now been used.
On Tassadar though, that's not a convenient target. King Caffeine in a perfect mosh pit situation. He is yet to pull the trigger. He waits. Yoda falls low after a great Q from K1 Pro. And now GaleForce Esports goes and claims what is theirs, and that is going to be a rather healthy Immortal.
Healthy Immortal, but a couple of members of Gale Force are going to go back. Might be an opportunity for Superstars to get some free damage on that, at least bring down some of the shielding so that Saray can be more of a threat, not threatened himself by the ETC, the Tracer, even Force Walls too. But Fan and Akaface keeping an eye on it, and Superstars needed to go back too. They're going to play this patiently, wait until everyone is ready for the defense of this Immortal, defending of their keep.
The shielding is falling pretty low. Pretty successful damage through this transition to the keep front wall. But that force wall power slide, and Hosty is gonzo. That was super deleted, and now GaleForce, they march up to the keep. They're ready to break the base. They are ready to possibly win this game if they can get even 1 to 2 kills.
Was Hosty even there? I'm not sure. He died so fast. GaleForce gets that volley kill, and that ensures that they at least take down a keep at this. They are just about to get 16. Things are getting almost unwinnable from Superstars now. They at least need to defend at this point. They push back the members of Gale Force so that they can take out the Immortal. But with a keep down, this changes the game for Superstars in a big way.
It changes it in a huge way. It's worsened by the fact that beyond 2 levels down, a keep down, they're down the global aspect,
Exactly.
which means no one can sit back, rid of the minion waves constantly. Those catapults are going to have to be answered. And Gilly, there is no spell, no hero, no nothing in the game to slow the rate that those catapults just dominate the core.
Yes, every single Immortal phase for Superstars has been grouped together, have the 2 frontliners in front, and then allow the backline of Superstars to deal damage. Now, Airho has been caught, Iron Skin was popped early, a perfect throw back from ETC, but another perfect palm will stop the pulse bomb.
Yeah, and that was with the Radiant Dash palm. That's a cheeky play from Iacona, keeping his team up, but they're still, you know, not in this quite yet. Leap goes on, Blessed Shield, everything, but the Ancestral Akaface understands that that is the all-in that Superstars needs, and he burns an Ancestral early, and it gains a easy kill, excuse me, onto Sray.
Sray's gone, Fan still chasing. Would love to get another pulse bomb out. Wasn't quite ready at that point, and it pushes back Superstars. That was so important for GaleForce to be able to keep ETC alive and then get the counter kill. Sonya is the one that maybe would have been the side laning hero for Superstars as a way of clearing out the minion waves quickly and then getting back into the action. And Superstars are falling farther and farther behind now. Hosty's been caught by Fan. He's going and trying to get the deletion on Hosty that may give GaleForce the game.
Yeah, no palm available for 2 more seconds, but he is just fine. He'll make it out. But I cannot say the same about Superstars here. I don't know if they are fine because this Immortal is here. Akaface and friends get free damage, most likely going to kick off the halftime show almost uncontested here as Superstars still out that 16 talent tier. They will be able to hit it in this window, but by no means is it going to be an easy future once that has been achieved.
Superstars will step forward. They are relying on having the sort of 6th man of their Immortal and knowing that Falstad was in the top dealing with their camp. But 16 is still a problem. Top, not really a great place to try to soak. They don't have a global. They don't have Dahaka who can try to sneak in there and make sure to get the soak there. So they're reliant on Sonya in the bottom lane. They still will step forward, seeing if they can at least get some poke on, limit how much can be done damage-wise with this Immortal so that they don't lose the game with it.
Yeah, they did a very good job there, getting as much damage as they possibly could. Sonya's still doing her best to rid of the minion waves, but GaleForce Esports, they're moving up. They've got the camp pressuring up towards top, and that is the only keep lane left. If they feel like Superstars is putting up too much of a defense now that they have seen, they can just send Falstad to get the top keep. If they answer to the top keep, they fly right back in, secure this Immortal. It is a must-win situation. Again, for Superstars, it is absolutely dire.
Yeah, when you start losing your keeps, every situation is basically a must-win from there on out for the team, for Superstars. And GaleForce gets to do the type of play that they adore, that they excel at, their global style play with that Falstad. Even just having one, it's not the constant multiple oppression of globals, but it's still enough to force Superstars into some sort of corner, and that's what they're working on right now.
Wow, that's a lot of damage onto Yoda. It's going to force him to go back and tap. All the members of Superstars look like they want to back out, but then they see GaleForce get on the Immortal, and it's just kind of, we can't give this up, but we also question, can we take this fight? Iacona says yes. He goes in with a Radiant Dash. But that is just it. One way of 100 fists. The pulse bomb goes down. Palm hits. Sonya is just fine. But cooldown for cooldown. Leap. Cleanse. Wow. AKA Face is ripping it up on the supports here. He is absolutely dominating.
And then the ridiculous follow-up of the Force Wall Mosh Pit. 2 people dead for Superstars. GaleForce step on into the Immortal. They'll get another Force Wall to delete Johanna. 3 people dead as this Immortal drops.
GaleForce Esports is not messing around today.
Yoda!
He's got no mana left. He dropped the B-step, though. Gotta commend you there. At what cost, though, Superstars? It's most likely this is going to be it, Gilly. 19-minute Immortal. They are going to be rounding the 20 talent tiers if they find any kills. And let's be real here. Superstars, the biggest silver lining, they have a really good defense. It's just everybody's so very squishy that even one Falstad flight is enough to scare them away from defending their own core. And this keep, it's not long for this world.
No, it's already halfway down in health as the Immortal just has started to get onto it. We've got Sray and Hosty. and Iacona. Johanna's up now, 11 seconds until Li Ming is here. Tracer won't be present for this. She has to spawn and then run all the way across, but the big problem is Gust. Everyone has to keep an eye. Saray dives in. They're going to the back line. Akaface almost taken out.
He's almost taken out, but he manages to survive, and that has been the story of this game. But who will not survive is Superstars. The Immortal is there. It does its job, and this is going to be Gale Force taking game 1 on BOE.
So it turns out between the focus of poke on Immortal and the team fighting reigns supreme in this game for GaleForce Esports. But it wasn't just team fighting. The global, having a global, as always, ends up working out really well for GaleForce.
It's just a very forgiving strategy, right? We've talked about it over and over again. It is just the floor of the complexity of the strategy is just very, very easy and low and easy to maintain, whereas the ceiling is just almost uncapped, which makes it such a brilliant strategy. And GaleForce flaunting it left and right. They're successful here in this game, but I do feel like Superstars maybe, if they had been able to play a bit more aggressive, and specifically that first Immortal phase had been a little bit less passive, I feel like they would have been far better off in that game. It just one lead over to GaleForce, they abused the global, and then just was like, how, can Superstars come back with this risky composition?
One hero that we did not see throughout all of the draft, which is very strange for NA HGC and kind of heroes competitive right now, is Dahaka. How do you think things would have been? You wouldn't have had the leap for after recall, but if instead Stray would have been playing his Dahaka instead of the Sonya.
It would have helped when it comes to that side lane soaking, right? But then they lose all threat on the Immortal race. Like, I do think the Dahaka would have been fine to make up for that, but then they have to consider the other trade-offs, because that Sonya made it to where they stood a chance around the poking Immortal race when Tracer's going in for those kills, because if she overextended, you can just essentially one-shot her, right? It just never did that actually come online, and so the strategy didn't really have the oomph it was looking for.
Well, Dread, I know you're going to be so excited because you can give some support in